This man wanted to take me off the market but didn't want to officially commit. Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. Hey there, beautiful people. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Lincy P, and as you can tell by the title today, y'all, I got a story time, my very first story time ever, and I really hope that by sharing this story I'm able to kind of highlight some of the red flags that you ladies should be looking for in your dating, because I hear it's rough in these streets. So let's go ahead and jump right into the story time. Earlier today, I am getting ready to shoot some content. I'm looking for some Reels ideas. I hop on IG and I come across a friend, we'll call him James Story, and I see that my ex has married the woman that he cheated on me with. And in just reflecting on the story, I'm like, oh my goodness, God, like, how did I not see all the red flags? It was just like, girl, you missed all the signs that, like, it was you that the man didn't want. You just weren't the one for him, which is clear now because I'm engaged to somebody else. So to really understand how this happened, we have to go back to my junior year in college. So going into my junior year, maybe like the end of the summer that ended sophomore year going into junior year, I got out of this horrible situationship. So I just was ready to like start fresh. I really wanted to focus on myself that year. I had just got a new job, and that's where I kind of started off in property management. I got a new job as a leasing agent. I was just moving into my brand new apartment, just really excited to put that previous situationship behind me and just move forward. So I'm starting my junior year. I get the job after James hooks me up with the interview, and it's my first day at the gig, and I'm like meeting all of my immediate coworkers. So at this particular property, we had two larger properties kind of that shared the same like block and a half radius, and we were sister properties. After getting the interview, I worked at property A, and James and my now ex, we'll call him Michael, worked at property B. But we're sister properties, ran by the same management company, about a block and a half away from each other. So staffing wise, we pretty much did everything together when it came to events, staff meeting, planning, all of that good stuff. So it comes to my first staff meeting and I meet the team, and Michael is there. I meet the team, I get to know everyone. They introduce me as the new leasing agent, and quickly we've kind of become like a fast friends work cohort. We start going out after work for like drinks together, eating dinner together, going out to the bars and stuff like that together on campus, and just hanging out with the people that I work with. So very quickly, people kind of start dropping hints that Michael is interested in me. And y'all, the first red flag is your initial reaction to someone expressing interest to you. Initially, your girl was not, I wasn't interested. So that was the first flag. I should have just trusted my initial gut feeling of like, I'm good on that, don't need that. He just wasn't my type, y'all. Like, I like them a little rough around the edges. I like, you know, just a little bad boy energy. And Michael was real, he was real square. He was real straight, narrow. Like, he just was not typically what I go for. So everyone's telling me, you should give him a chance. You should give him a chance. And I'm like, I don't know, but everyone is just, you know, hyping him up, telling me how great of a guy he is, and that I really should give him a chance. Now, Michelle, the woman he's now married to, was one of those people. So she also worked at the property and kind of was a part of that friend group. And one night we all like went out for drinks, and I kind of was like sharing, not all, I went out for drinks with the group of women. A couple of us worked at the property, including Michelle, and then a couple of, it was like her roommate and just a couple of like other acquaintances. So after the bar that night, we're all hanging out in one of the girls' cars and just kind of like talking about our guy dilemmas, having a little girl chat. And it's my turn to speak, and I kind of explained to them, yeah, you know, I just got out of this situationship. There's this guy Michael who, like, I hear is interested in me, but I don't know if I want to date anyone right now. Everyone in the car is telling me like, no, we really think you should give, you know, Michael a chance, including Michelle. So I'm like, okay, it's one date, you know. You guys, I'm pretty sure you've been there. After you get out of a toxic situationship, you start questioning if you really know your type, right? Like, if you keep attracting the same type of men, like, maybe you should give someone who isn't your normal type a chance. Like, maybe it's me, maybe I'm the problem, self-sabotaging myself. So maybe I don't know what I want. Let's give this a chance and see where this goes. So I go ahead and give Michael a chance. We go on our first date. We went to the movies on a double date with myself, Michael, James, and another one of our co-workers. And it was a good time. We had a good time. And one thing I will say about Michael is he really was a perfect gentleman, y'all. Like, this man opened the door for me every single time, pulled out my chair every single time, paid for every single date, always made sure that I was walking on the inside of the sidewalk, like, just truly a gentleman. And now saying that out loud, like, those are the bare minimum things that you should be expecting from a man who wants to date you. But at that time, you know, Lincy, back then, I had never had a guy treat me so well. So I was just like, oh my gosh, like, for me, he's rolling out the red carpet for me. So Michael and I begin dating. We keep going on dates. We keep hanging out with this group of cohorts, and we kind of become known as a couple, even though we're not officially together yet. People kind of start calling us the Barack and Michelle of the property because we both work there, both kind of well put together people. People are like, yep, you guys are a match made in heaven. But we're still not officially dating. So we continue to get more serious, and Michael expresses that he wants to be exclusive with me, but he doesn't quite want to date just yet. Ding, ding, ding. I'm gonna insert, every time there's a red flag, I'm gonna just go ahead and put it right up on the screen. Red flag number 2. This man wanted to take me off the market, but didn't want to officially commit. Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. I entertained that for a little while, and then maybe like 6 months into it, I'm like, okay, what's going on? Like, are we gonna be together? Are we not gonna be together? Because you want to take me off the market, you don't want me talking to anyone else, but you're not committing to me, and I wasn't down to just be talking to somebody for the next foreseeable future, because I just left a situation where I was doing that. Either I'm gonna be single or I'm being in a relationship, but this half step in between, I'm like, you can keep that. So I made that very clear to Michael of like, listen, if you don't want to be in a relationship with, it's fine. Like, we don't have to be in a relationship. Like, we could just be friends, but I need to know so that I can exit stage left. Michael, you guys, pretty much flat out told me all the reasons why he didn't want to be with me. Like, after I kind of just had that strong conversation with him, I woke up to a text message of a laundry list of everything that he didn't like about me. This man was pretty much was like, here is why I don't like you, and you'll never be my girlfriend, on a platter. Y'all, can you just imagine waking up and someone being like, you have too big of a personality, you know, you always want to talk about things. Girl, this is why I don't like you. But then pursuing you for the last 6 months, it just was like, okay, noted. Noted, sir. It's cool. Like I said, we don't have to date. Like, no harm, no foul. I've enjoyed getting to know you. Like, it is what it is. Because in reality, I just feel like he didn't like who I was as a person. So why he was pursuing me, news to me. Once he gave me that list, of course I was hurt, because at this point, you know, I did like the guy. We had a good time together, but clearly you just told me everything that's wrong with me. So and not in a constructive way. It was just like, I'm telling y'all, I wish I could go back and reference the text messages. Obviously I don't have them, but it was just like bullet point after bullet point of like, this is what's wrong with you, this is what's wrong with you, this is what's wrong with you, you don't check this box, you do this, you do that, and this is why I don't like you, and this is why I haven't made you my girlfriend. I basically was like, okay, I got the message, it's very clear now, so I'm gonna go ahead and exit stage left. And this entire time, the guy from my past situationship is still trying to pursue me. He's still trying to get in contact with me, trying to drag me back into that nonsense that was that situationship. And I've just kind of been curving him, you know, once I decided to give Michael a chance to see where things would go with Michael. And the entire time, Michelle is in the background like, yeah, girl, you guys are the perfect couple. I'm rooting for you guys. Y'all are definitely made to be together, yada, 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 yada. So Michelle is just really hyping up our relationship. Her and I are developing a friendship. We're hanging out together, getting lunch, doing all this stuff. Like, we're developing a friendship. Once he sends that text message, that same day, my ex-situationship person hit me up. And so I'm like, okay, well, clearly things are done with Michael. My ego's a bit bruised, and at this point, your girl just wants to go where she's wanted. I'm like, clearly you don't want me. This man is still chasing down my tail. I'm hurt. Like, I just want to feel wanted. So I double back, which I don't advise that you do. When you leave a situation that's toxic, just stay out. But of course, we all live, we learn, and your girl doubles back. I double back to the situationship guy, and it's not smart. Don't do that. So the situationship guy comes over, we hang out. Y'all get the gist, you know. We hang out. And I start telling him, you know, yeah, like this is what happened. It's crazy. I cut you off for 6 months. This is what this guy presented, and then all of a sudden it was like, boom, you're trash of a woman. I don't want to be with you. Situationship guy, of course, is like, this is crazy. Like, you don't deserve that. Blah, 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 blah. Just truly trying to play his role. And then the next morning, we wake up and we're just like talking, and I get a text from who? Michael. And the text from Michael pretty much reads that he apologized for everything that he said the day before. He didn't really mean that stuff. He just was getting really like anxious about feeling like, you know, he had to commit to being in a relationship. You know, he does want me to be in his life, but he's just not ready to be in a relationship yet. He's still scared with how his last relationship had ended, and just anytime the word relationship comes up, he just is like, that's a red zone for him. But he shouldn't have spoken to me that way. He doesn't mean the things that he said, and he would like to have a conversation about it, and on his way to my house. So I'm like, situationship sir, you gotta go. I'm sorry, this was a mistake. This should have never happened. Michael's coming back, we're gonna work it out, you gotta go. So of course I kick him out, he leaves, and then Michael comes over and we talk, and I asked him, okay, like, because up until this point I really don't fully have an understanding of why the last relationship ended or how it ended. And he basically told me that, you know, he just wasn't in love with that girl anymore, and it pretty much did kind of end sour because they took a break. Okay, you guys remember this pattern. They took a break, and he kind of started developing feelings or hanging out with this other girl that he went to school with, and, you know, kind of started entertaining the other girl while they were on this break. Meanwhile, he is still continuing to do boyfriend-like things for his ex. So he's still taking her out on dates, buying her gifts. You know, they're still in communication. So it seems like the relationship could possibly be rekindled. But in his head, it just really was over. He kind of was just dragging out the breakup. He knew he shouldn't have done that, but it was just really hard to just kind of cut ties. But eventually, she found out that he was entertaining this other girl while, you know, it looks like they're gonna rekindle things, and she messed up his car, which I don't blame her. You know, she slashed his tires, did all of his stuff, and he was just like, you know, she knew how hard I worked to get that car, to buy my first car, and for her to just destroy my property like that was it for me. And I'm like, but your actions caused that reaction, and because of her reaction, like, that was it for you? He was like, yeah, I couldn't deal with that. Red flag. It wasn't like, he didn't really take much ownership about his role in the situation. It was just, you know, you should never allow anyone to get you that far. Not really acknowledging that he had provoked her. So that was another red flag to me. I'm like, that's strange, but okay. But again, up until this point, aside from the laundry list text message that I got, he had been treating me well, like, and he continued to do so after that. So I'm like, okay, maybe he'll learn from it. I don't know. So we continue dating. I'm like, surely this is not going to happen to me. Surely, like, it's not going to end that way. There's just no way that he could do that twice. Stupidity. Just go ahead and write it right across my forehead. So we continue dating. He asked for more time. He asked for grace, you know, in terms of just getting ready to be in a relationship, but made it very clear, like, I want you to be in my life. I'm still not ready to commit. No, we're not going to do that, but I want you to be in my life. And I'm like, what else am I doing? What am I going to do? I'm going to go back to the situationship, friends with benefits? No, we'll see how this goes. Which really, I should have just taken him at face value for the way that he presented, you know, how he viewed me right on the platter, and just got up out of there. But I didn't. So we continue dating. It's another 6 months now. So now we're talking, dating, whatever you want to call it, for 9 months, and we're still not officially together. Even though people are recognizing us as a couple, referring to us as a couple, he has not asked me to be his girlfriend, so we are not a couple. Yeah, so we continue to date. He continues to be a gentleman, but the entire time too, after he tells me the story about his ex, I kind of fully never trust him. Like, there's this aura of just like secrecy around him that I could fully never penetrate. Like, I could fully never get my head around it. I get this eerie feeling of like, something is off about this man. I just can't put my finger on it. I can never find any text messages or traces with other women. I can never find proof that he's entertaining anyone else. I don't know what he's lying about, but something is just off. So we continue to date. 3 months goes by. Now we're in summer of going into senior year, and we're dating, and he still hasn't asked me to be his girlfriend. I'm like, okay, I'm just a little bit shy of having spent a year with you, and you still don't know if you want to be with me. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. When you know that you want to be with someone, it's pretty clear. When a man wants to be with you, he will make a way. When he doesn't want to be with you, he will find every excuse in the book to not commit to you. And that's what was happening. So 9 months go by, and I'm like, okay, listen, you've had 9 months to figure it out. You haven't figured it out. It's cool. I'm leaving. It is what it is. I'm not gonna force anything on you. I'm not giving you any ultimatums, even though he was like, why do you keep giving me ultimatums? I'm not. I'm making my choice. It's clear that you are still undecisive about the direction in which you want this relationship to go. So I'm just gonna go exit because it's not making sense to me. So he's like, no, don't make any rush decisions. Like, let me take you out on a date. Like, let's talk about it. So we go out on this date, go to this really nice place. We have dinner. It's a good time. And then after the dinner, we head back to his house, watch a movie, and then, you know, in the middle of the movie, he turns it off. We have a little bit of a conversation about where we're going to take this, and then he asked me to be his girlfriend. And I'm just like, this is a little too convenient. Like, are you sure you want to do this? I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who just doesn't want to be in a relationship. Like, it's okay, but it just means that we're going to go our separate ways. And he was like, no, like, I want you in my life. If this is how you're gonna be in my life, then let's do this. Let's be in a relationship. So now it's official. We're officially together and we continue dating. Things are going well. We're enjoying our summer. We're hanging out with our friends, a lot of barbecues, a lot of going to the bar, a lot of pool parties, and we're just enjoying the rest of the summer. And this is the work cohort. Michelle is a part of this cohort. So we spend the entire summer just the whole, you know, property A and property B gang just getting together, hanging out, kicking it, enjoying the summer. And the entire time, again, this woman is in my ear telling me how you guys are the perfect match, you guys are the greatest relationship, her and I are building a friendship, all types of stuff. Okay? This girl's in my face. But I am a little weary of her because I'm starting to see character that I don't really like. I don't trust her as far as I can throw her. She is sleeping with her roommate's man. She just kind of doesn't have the same guiding principles. Whether or not the man has a girlfriend, wife, fiance, whatever is irrelevant to her. If she takes interest in a man and he takes interest in her, that's all she needs to know. Whatever the man has going on outside of that, she doesn't care. But she never approached my relationship with that. So it was just like, girl, I don't agree with what you do in your free time, but that's your free time, sis. You do you. But again, the entire time she's steady, oh, you should, you know, you should go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, girl. Keep doing this relationship. It's going to be great. You guys are perfect for each other. Meanwhile, sis is plotting. Sis is plotting, okay? Later in the summer, he ends up getting a promotion. So he goes from leasing agent to now leasing manager. So of course, I'm just like, oh, you know, Michael, that's great. Congratulations. We're celebrating. And so I start asking him, hey, how are you going to be able to handle both? Like, how do you think this year is going to go with like your new promotion, which is a full-time job, and being a full-time student? Like, that's a lot on your plate. He continues to kind of like scapegoat the question, you know, as the semester is getting closer, and naturally we're both students. I'm asking about his work schedule and I mean his class schedule, and he never really fully gives me an answer. Oh yeah, I'm gonna register for some classes. Oh, I might take this, I might take that, but it's never like, oh yeah, I'm taking this class this semester, I have this professor, you know, this is how it's going. Never anything solid. It's just all kind of wishy-washy, up in the air. School starts and he is older than me, so I know like, okay, if I'm supposed to graduate next year, he's supposed to graduate in December at this point, because he like was delayed a semester. So in my head, I'm like, okay, well, he didn't really answer, but I know that this is the season that he's supposed to graduate in. I'm gonna do something nice for graduation, especially he got this promotion, working this full-time job now. Like, he deserves to have like a really big celebration. If he's gonna work full-time and finish school out, I think I should, as his girlfriend, I should plan something nice. So y'all, I booked a surprise trip for this man for graduation. We were supposed to go to Dominican Republic in December for his graduation. But something in me was like, you can't really hold on to the tickets until December because you don't know if Michael has a passport. You kind of need to know. And if he doesn't have a passport, it's going to take time for him to get one. So you should just like tell him about the trip, and then you could find like another way to surprise him, either after graduation or on the trip, because I need to know. I bought the tickets, but I didn't know if he had a passport. So we go to dinner and I present him with his surprise trip. The man's face, y'all, stuck. This man hit me with the stuck face. There was no enthusiasm, no excitement, no nothing. He just looked nervous and like almost petrified that I had presented him with a birthday trip. So I'm like, what's the problem? You don't want to go to the DR? We can pick a different place. Like, what's the problem? And he's like, no, it's not that.
There's something that I have to tell you. I don't know how you're going to take this, but there's something that I have to tell you.
And I'm like, okay. So this man proceeds to tell me that he isn't graduating from the University of Illinois in December. As a matter of fact, he actually hasn't attended the University of Illinois for about a year now, and that he had to pretty much, he came there on a scholarship for engineering. That didn't work out grade-wise, so he switched to a different major. I think economics was his major at the time, and that didn't work out, so he ended up transferring to take classes at the community college, but he hasn't been enrolled at U of I for quite some time, and he will not be graduating this December. And at first, I wasn't furious. I was just confused as to why he would lie about that. Like, why would somebody lie about that? Like, what's the big deal? Like, people change majors. They have to take breaks from school. College isn't always from point A to point B for everyone. Like, that's normal. Like, why would you lie about that? And red flag, again, that he didn't view me as a safe space where he can confide with me with that type of stuff. Because his response was like, you know, I just was really scared to tell you. I wasn't sure if how you were going to take it. I was nervous that you were going to leave me. Didn't think that this relationship would be able to continue if I had disclosed this. And to me, it was just like, but what's the big deal? Then I spoke to one of my close friends, Rowlette, about this. And she's like, Lincy, you know, you're too easily forgiving in this situation, because yeah, I get it, he didn't want to tell you, but character-wise, this man has put on a charade for the last year, essentially pretending to go to U of I. And then I had to think about it, guys. The entire time that we were dating that year, it definitely was a charade. It was a lot of, hey, let's meet up in between classes for coffee. Hey, let's meet on the quad and just kind of hang out in between classes. Hey, let's grab lunch in between this class and this class. The normal things that you do when you're dating someone that goes to the same school as you. You find the gaps in your schedules, you link up, and then you go your way. So he did that for a year. And to do that, it had to be a lot of back and forth. It had to be a lot of intentionality of, okay, I know that U of I classes get out at this time, so let me text her around this time so that I can kind of be like, you know, as if I was already on campus. Like the upkeep, the amount of maintenance to upkeep such a minimal thing, like such a stupid thing to lie about for a year, to my friend was like, nah sis, he moving sneaky. Something is off with that man. And my goofy self was like, no, he just was nervous about how I was gonna take it, and not really following my initial intuition about, there's an era of secrecy about this man. There's something I don't trust him, but I can't exactly put my finger on it. Like, by that time, I was just so naive, guys, and it just felt like, yeah, but he's not cheating on me, so like, it's a stupid thing to lie about, but like, is it really a big deal when I really should have paid attention to the character flaws that this situation was highlighting? But I didn't. And so naturally, we ended up not going to the Dominican Republic. I ended up canceling that trip. That was that, because you're not graduating. It's supposed to be a graduation trip. To kind of make up for it, he ended up booking us a trip to go to Belize later that next year, that next January. So that happened maybe like September-ish, and then in October, that's kind of when things kind of start to go south. So in October, we find out that I'm pregnant. I'm expecting a child, and immediately I call my parents. I call, you know, my family. I tell them, hey, I'm pregnant. Michael and I are having a baby. This is what's going on. And my parents' reaction, which I told y'all, I have strict traditional Haitian parents. They really surprised me. They were like, oh, it's fine. Like, at this point, they really like Michael. They're like, we know he's gonna take care of you. We know he's gonna take care of the baby. We trust that, like, you're in good hands. It's fine. You and Michael will figure it out. Plus, you're gonna graduate this year and you'll be fine. So I'm like, okay, Michael never calls his mom. Till this day, I don't think he ever told anyone that I was pregnant by him. Till this day. So I'm pregnant, we start going for checkups, and he's acting like he's excited, but he never is taking the steps to inform the people who are closest to him. He doesn't tell James, his best friend. He doesn't tell his mom. He doesn't tell his brother. No one that's close to him knows that he is about to have his first child. Unfortunately, I ended up having a miscarriage, and that was really traumatic for me. Yeah, it was just not a fun experience to kind of get to the point where you have accepted that you're going to be a mom for the first time, and then to just have it like ripped away from you. I was really sad. I went through a season of depression. I didn't go to class for a couple weeks. I didn't go to work for a couple weeks. Like, it just, your girl was not in a good way. When we first went to the hospital and found out, like, you know, I was having some pain, I was having some bleeding. When we first went to the hospital and found out that it was a miscarriage, he was really supportive that day. But after that, it was kind of like his attitude. He never said it, but the way that he reacted and carried himself was just like such a sigh of relief of like, whew, okay, I missed that bullet. We're done with this now, right? Like, he was trying to hurry up and close that chapter as soon as possible. But for me, like, I was still, even physically, you guys know, like, a miscarriage isn't here today, gone tomorrow. Like, I was still physically dealing with expelling, you know, whatever. Like, I was still physically dealing with it, emotionally dealing with it, going through depression. And after that very first day, I never really felt supported by him again. It was just, let's get back to life as quickly as possible. And I'm just like, I'm grieving. So I kind of felt like I was going through that grieving process by myself. He kind of was already, again, a really secretive person, but the wall even went up even more. And I really was left alone to kind of just deal and process, because anytime I would bring something to him, he would be like, oh, like, you just want to talk about stuff, like, you're always wanted to talk through things throughout, like, everything doesn't need to be talked about, you, like, we can just move on. So there was a lot of silencing, a lot of shutting down whenever I brought up feelings in that relationship, and just generally an era of like, we don't need to talk about this. Like, why do we need to talk about this? Like, let's just keep it moving. So I backed off. I was like, okay, it is what it is. So now I start becoming more and more withdrawn in the relationship. But again, when a man doesn't find you his safe space, he's not going to be vulnerable with you. He's not going to tell you his true feelings. He's not going to share those things with you because you're not his safe space. But if you're his person, you will be his safe space. Like, he will find that comfort with you as you will find it with him. So I'm steady the entire time of this relationship, steady giving of myself, steady telling secrets that I have, or just personal traumas I experienced, just telling the person that I'm dating, you know, what I've gone through, what's happening in my life. And what I'm getting back in return is very surface level. Like, we dated maybe 2 years, going on 3 years, I think. And the deepest thing that I know about the man to this day is that he doesn't have a relationship with his biological father. That's it. That's like as deep as we went. Meanwhile, I'm telling this man about I'm talking like trauma, y'all. So it just wasn't matched in that way. And that presented itself even in the way that we processed the miscarriage separately. So then after the miscarriage happened and me really not feeling supported through that, I just felt like he was trying to pick fights where they didn't need to be picked all the time. Like, he had problems with like me having certain male friends who were genuinely just my friends. Meanwhile, outwardly, everyone is still looking at us as like kind of sort of couple goals, perfect for each other, blah, blah, blah. And I'm starting to feel like, yeah, maybe perfect for each other on paper, but in reality, like, this isn't working. But he's purchased this trip to Belize, so I'm like, okay, let's go on the trip and let's see what happens on this trip. the right before we leave for this trip, y'all, when I tell you everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong. Everything from like minute stuff like parking all the way down to almost missing flights, getting to the airport. The weather was, leaving Chicago, the weather was horrible. Like nothing went right. We had a huge fight like a couple days before we were supposed to go on the trip, to the point where I was like, I'm not going anywhere with you. You can go to Belize by yourself and have a great time, sir. Like I'm not interested in traveling with you if this is what it's gonna be like. And of course he had just spent all this money on this trip, so he's like, no, like let's calm down, like let's regroup, let's go on this trip together. So we go on the trip and it's chaotic until we actually get to Belize. But once we get to Belize, we're having an okay time. It's still kind of feeling very forced, like we're on this island together, just the two of us, and we only have each other here, so we kind of have to put whatever differences we're having aside so that we can just make it through this trip. So it's a very forced happiness, fake joy, vacation type of situation. It wasn't anywhere near any time that I've taken a trip with Tay. Like it just wasn't the same. So we're on this trip, but this trip really also highlighted another red flag, is that we don't share the same core values or just have the same core guiding principles. On that trip, I really realized spiritually that we were just not aligned. And you guys know I'm a Christian. I am very strong about my faith. I don't play when it comes to my faith. And on that trip, he pretty much told me that like he was an atheist. He really didn't believe in God, which I knew that he was still like trying to find his path spiritually, but I didn't know that it was like that, because after we had to miscarry the baby, he still did things that brought me comfort. So for me, the one thing that I did do is seek comfort in God. I really ran to God after that miscarriage, and like church was my happy place, and he would come with me most Sundays because he knew that. But that was it. He kind of was just like a body in a seat in a service. Like he wasn't doing anything for him the way that it was doing for me. And I kind of knew that, but I didn't know that he just was like, yeah, I don't believe in a higher power. But at this time too, there's also little drops of conversations about marriage and like trying again for kids at some point later in the future. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to intentionally marry someone who doesn't share the same faith as me. Which I'm not here to tell you who or what to believe in. But for me, it's very important that my household is a unified household, especially when we're talking about raising and rearing children together, because I'm very, again, steadfast in my faith. I believe what I believe. And I expect or want my children to be raised in the same way. I don't want to have to be fighting with their parent about whether this is right or wrong. I just want it to be clear that we're on the same page, that this is the faith in which that we're going to bring our children up in, and that's that. So I made it really clear I have no intentions on marrying anyone who is not a Christian. And he was really offended by that. He was like, so if I was of X, Y, and Z faith, you wouldn't marry me? And I'm like, no, I just explained to you my reasoning why, and I said what I said. So I know that you're still trying to figure that out, you know, your belief system or whatever. But for me, I've got to figure it out. And if one day you don't come to Christ, then like this just isn't going to work. Now, mind you, his best friend, James, who got me the job and kind of introduced us, is also a believer. And so James and I have, you know, talked like, well, maybe if we're both in his life, God will bring him to Christ and all this stuff. But on this trip, it really highlighted just how far removed he was from ever getting to that point, that I just was like, oh, I'm not too sure about this. So anyway, we had that conversation on the trip. It ends up being a little bit of a sore point, but it's on maybe like day 2 of a 5-day trip. And so we kind of just put it away, don't talk about it again, and just continue to just try and enjoy each other's presence on this trip. We get back to the States. The way that we left is the way that we came, guys. We get back to the States coming back from this trip, and it's horrible. He ends up crashing my car. The weather is terrible. We lose our luggage. All types of mess. But we end up making it back to the States, and we continue the relationship for another couple of months. I'm now into the final semester of my senior year. So it's nowhere near like the honeymoon stage anymore. But now we're having conversations about next steps, obviously, because I'm going to graduate. I'm applying to grad school. He is doing well at work and up for another promotion. Now he's starting to push the next steps in our relationships. He's clearing space in his closet. Like, okay, this is space. I cleared out this entire closet for you. Like, this is your closet. Then the next step is, you know what? I think that you really should consider moving in after graduation. Here is a key. Then the next steps is talks about marriage and how do I feel about it and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not the one initiating any of these next steps. The only time that I put my foot down was, do you want to be together or no? Because I'm out. So anytime after that, it was Michael initiating the next step, the next step, and the next step. And I'm still not all the way sure about the relationship, but I'm like, you know what? He treats me well enough that we'll see where this goes. So I continue to go in the next steps. Now, when it comes time for me to decide which school I'm going to go to, I have two choices that are my top choices, either to remain at the University of Illinois or to go to Columbia, New York, because I always wanted to live in New York at that time. And so I applied to both. And so, you know, we're having conversations about what does life look like if I do end up going to New York versus if I stay in Champaign at the University of Illinois. He's now being sent to help out at different properties, and it's probably going to be up for another promotion soon. If he does have to get up and move to another state, would I be willing to come with him or no? Am I going to stay and finish school? What's the plan? So these are like the next life choices that we're kind of having a dialogue about and like making together. Things are already kind of on thin ice, and then one day he goes out with the work group of friends and I don't go. He just goes, but he doesn't come home. And not only does he not come home, but he doesn't make it to work the next day. And I start to panic because he's never done anything like that before. So he doesn't come home. I'm calling all of the friends. Hey, have you seen Michael? Have you seen Michael? No, no one has seen Michael. All right, well, he's supposed to report at work at 9. I'll just wait and see if he shows up. If he's okay, great. If not, then I'm kind of worried. He doesn't make it to work. So now I'm just like, okay. For the friends who hadn't answered my phone calls, like now I'm going to knock on doors, because we all pretty much live at either property A or property B. No one doesn't live at one of those two properties. And as I'm putting my coat, something in me just goes, he better not be at Michelle's house. That something would be the Holy Spirit, y'all. I'm fully convinced of it. I've never thought this before, but I know Michelle's character, and he is acting a little bit off. And I know Michelle's character. So I'm like, he better not be at Michelle's house. And I head over to Michelle's house, y'all. And I'm knocking at the door. And she opens the door. Now, mind you, we have been friends for about 2 years now since I've met her. She's been witnessing, you know, the blossom of this relationship. We've both been in her house multiple times. She's been in both of our homes multiple times. And I'm knocking on the door, and this girl just sticks her head out. She doesn't even fully open the door. She just sticks her head out like, oh, hey, girl, like, what's up? She doesn't let me in. She doesn't let me in her apartment. And I'm like, have you seen Michael? No, Michael, no, I haven't seen him. I haven't seen him since last night. Like, what's up? What's wrong? And I'm like, I can't find him. No one knows where he is. Like, he didn't make it to work. It's not like him. And so I'm just wondering, like, all of y'all went out last night. Have you seen him? No, girl, that's crazy. I haven't seen Michael. I I have no idea where he is. No idea. And I'm like, oh, okay. And y'all, everything in me at that moment is just like, bust the door down and see if Michael's inside. Like, I just knew that he was inside. I just knew. I don't know how, but I just knew. But I didn't. I kept my composure, and I'm like, okay. Well, if you see him, let him know that Lincy's looking for him. She's like, oh, I'll come help you look for him. Let me just get dressed. I have someone inside, so you know I can't really let you inside, but let me get dressed and I'm gonna come help you look for Michael. You have Michael inside, but whatever. So she gets dressed. She meets me back at Michael's apartment, and she just starts kind of running down the possible list of people's house that he could have crashed at, people that they were with, being like, well, did you call this person? Have you spoken to this person? I'm like, yes, girl. I call everybody. No one knows where he is, or either they're not answering. And maybe like 5 minutes of her being in the house, Michael comes stumbling into the door, and he's still drunk. He is still completely fucked up from the night before. The man can't even keep his eyes. Like, I'm trying to talk to him, like, what happened to you? Where were you? Why you ain't make it to work? Why you not answering my calls? He can't even look at me. He's like, Lincy, please. Like, I can't right now. So I'm like, all right, you sober up. We'll have this conversation at a later date. And she's just like, oh, well, Michael's here, so looks like my job is done. I'm gonna head out. You guys good? Y'all good? I'm gonna head out. And the timing of it was just so like, I can't find him. I come to your home. You don't let me in. You come help me look for him. And within 5 to 7 minutes of you showing up, he stumbles his drunk ass in. And none of this was coordinated. It just was it was very suspicious to me. Yeah, so Michael sobers up later that evening. We end up having a conversation, and he is not happy with me. He is not pleased that I was calling and looking for him, trying to figure out why he had gone ghost and didn't come home and didn't show up to work. Which, to me, like, if I go missing, I would 100 expect, if I go missing doing something out of the ordinary at this day, I would expect Tay to be calling and looking to try to find me. It's just what you do. So I thought. But he didn't like that, girl. He was like, no, you're too much, Lincy. This relationship, like, you don't have boundaries. Like, you're doing too much. I think we need a break. And I'm like, a break? You just asked me to move in. And I forgot to mention, you guys, at this point, I have now accepted my offer to continue attending school at the University of Illinois. Not necessarily for Michael, it's just a better financial situation. And even if Michael wasn't in the picture, I would have made that decision just financially. But Michael's offer for us to move in together was going to put me in an even better financial situation to where I can then help my parents repair some things on our old house. So I had already had this conversation with my parents. Like, yeah, this is the plan. Michael and I are moving in together. I'm going to be able to give you guys this lump sum amount of money to help redo, like, I think they were trying to do the roof or something at that time. With this break, like, clearly we're not moving in together. This is not happening. He's like, you know, I don't know. I'm not saying that I don't want to be with you, but like, your behavior, like the way you move it, like, it's too much. I need to take a step back. And I'm like, what? You're the one who didn't come home. You're the one who didn't communicate, and you want to take a break? All right, it's cool. It's no problem. So we take a break, and at this point, everything is still amicable. He understands financially the commitment that I made to my parents, and now I kind of have to reevaluate that commitment because we're no longer going to be living together. And so he's still helping me out, you know, financially, which I was very thankful for. I now have to find a place to live, and this is very short notice. Graduation is like a month away at this point, so I now have to find a place to live. I now have to get my own bearings, furniture, all that good stuff. I have to set myself up to not be living with him. He's the leasing manager at this place, and he's able to get me a really good deal on an apartment. He's like, listen, if you sign this deal, like, I'm not gonna give you a roommate. I know that's not really what you want, but you'll have this entire 2-bedroom to yourself Remember this, guys. I'm like, okay, great. Win-win for everyone. It is what it is. But during this entire break, there's still conversations of like possibly getting back together. It's not really clear. You guys remember how he broke up with his ex? We're in that gray area again. Like, you want to break, but you're still coming over. You're still doing boyfriend-like things. You're still trying to you're still doing all the things. Pattern of how his last relationship ended is now showing up in our relationship. So I'm getting mixed signals. I'm like, is it over? Is it not over? Is it over? Is it not over? And up until this point, I hadn't told my parents that it was over yet, because I wasn't clear if we're getting back together or not. And I didn't want, you know how family can be, they don't forget. So I didn't want to tell my family one thing if like this was just gonna blow over in a couple of weeks. So graduation came, and let me tell you guys, he played his role. Nobody knew that we weren't together. He was at every graduation ceremony, dinner with my family, opened the door, held my hand, held my bags, everything that a boyfriend would do on graduation day. Michael was there to do it, even though we were on a break. So it was just very unclear about the state of our relationship at this point. However, now I'm going to work, and again, we all work at both either property A or property B, and like the maintenance crew and the maintenance supervisor are coming and telling me like, yeah, we saw Michelle, you know, and Michael together on a solo date at this place. So yeah, we saw Michelle, you know, doing the walk of shame from Michael's house this night, and you know, they're hanging out together and they're doing this and they're doing that. And it's just like, but both of y'all swear that y'all weren't together that night and that nothing's going on. So I'm confronting Michael like, yo, like, what's up? Like, why am I hearing that you're doing this, but you're telling me that we're just on a break and you need this and you just need space to figure out what's going on because you feel like things are moving too fast, you're committing too soon, you know, you shouldn't be. He was telling me, he was just making it seem like he wasn't ready for the pace that we were moving at, and we needed to kind of slow down. Like, he still kind of sort of wanted the relationship. He was like, I feel like you have taken up so much space in my life that I can't really be selfish. You know, I'm getting all these potential job offers, and the first thing I'm thinking about is, how is this going to work with Lincy? How is this going to affect our relationship, when really I should just be focused on advancing my career at this point in time? And I just dating, like, I gotta take a pause on it. So why am I hearing that you're dating Michelle, but you're telling me you're not dating nobody? Like, is it done? Are we done? Because if we're done, that's cool. Again, I can exit stage left, but you're not telling me what I need to know. Like, it just couldn't be a clean break, which was very frustrating to me at the time. So he continues to deny that anything's going on between them. But Michelle, since Michael and I have gone on this break, my good friend Michelle, she hasn't called to check up on me not one time, y'all. Not one time is, hey girl, I heard you're going through a breakup. Are you good? Do you need anything? What's going on? But I'm hearing that you're all over town with my man / ex. Very confused. I'm very confused. So I end up hitting Michelle like, hey, let's make a Starbucks run. I need to talk to you. So we go to Starbucks, and you know, I basically like tell her what's up. Like, why haven't I heard from you? Like, what's going on? I hear you're kicking it with my ex, but you haven't called to check on me, and like, we're supposed to be girls. Well, this is Michelle.
Well, I just feel like you can't tell me who I can and can't be friends with, and I'm not gonna stop hanging with Michael. So if that's a problem for you, then I don't know what to tell you.
The balls on this girl, y'all. So I, you know, look up and down. I'm like, all right, noted. You can't be trusted. It's okay. You can go ahead. So that's pretty much the last conversation her and I ever have. And she continues to, you know, do whatever she's doing with Michael. And I continue to hear about it. And then I ask Michael, and Michael continues to deny it. And it's just this circle, this back and forth circle. If somebody sees them together, I ask them about it. He says they're just friends, or it's not true. Just gaslighting and kind of making me feel like what I already knew to be true was crazy. That I was crazy. Until one day, we end up having a staff meeting and 2 people aren't present at the staff meeting. Michael and Michelle. And at this point, I have now started to kind of be like, okay, we're not getting back together. It is what it is. I'm going to start moving on. Tay has now entered my life, kind of the very beginning stages. Tay and I are kind of getting to know each other. And at this point, all I want from Michael is the truth. I just want to know, are you dating her? And if so, I can plan my exit or do what I need to do. But as long as you're denying it, you're not giving me the space to move the way that I need to move. He's continuing to deny it. So at this point, another red flag is his denial starts having me act out of character, because all I want is the truth and I'm not getting it from this man. Now I gotta play, you know, inspector, detective type shit. I gotta try to catch them together. You know, my friends are peeping Tom for me. We're everyone, me and all my good friends are trying to get to the bottom of this. We're doing pop-ups at the house, stuff that I just have no business doing, have never done for a man, and never intend to do because of another man. Like, just things that I'm like, when other women do it, I'm like, sis, why would you even allow someone to make you stoop that low? And here I am stooping that low. And then this meeting comes up and they're both not there. So I'm like, there's only 2 people here. It's not a group outing. Both PTO on the exact same dates. And you're telling me that you're not dating her? Like, bro, am I dumb? I'm not dumb. I come to find out that they go to Indianapolis to go to the Kanye concert. And it's just the 2 of them. And at this point, I'm livid, because now it's just, you're embarrassing me. You're embarrassing me. I have to work with these people. You steady lying to my face and having these people run me with, you know, morning synopsises of your guys' escapades the nights before. And you're lying in my face telling me, no, it's not true. And having me looking stupid in front of everyone that we work with. This is my job. This is my livelihood. Instead of just being honest, where I can do what I need to do. So I'm pissed at this point, because now it's not just like things that I hear from other people. Like, I can clearly see that they're not there. I can clearly see on the PTO board that they have PTO at the same time. And I can see for myself, like, y'all are definitely together, instead of other people seeing and reporting back to me. So I'm heated. And I'm going off, you know, I'm telling Tay, like, can you believe this is what this man did to me? Because at this point, Tay and I are like half friends, half on the verge of like dating each other. Can you believe this is what he did? Woo, woo. I'm so fucking pissed. I can't believe this. I'm heated. This man, he got me out here looking stupid. He's embarrassing me in my place of work. Like, I can't even keep my head up high, because everybody knows my business in this place. They're not even being discreet about their stuff, and it's just embarrassing. And this entire time, I'm telling Tay what's going on. Tay and I go to the mall, and then we come back home from the mall, and whose car do I see in Michael's driveway? Michelle's. Her car's in the driveway. So they're back from Indiana. So now I'm going to confront him. I'm going to confront Michael, and it doesn't end pretty. I am livid at this point, banging on the door. I'm furious. Like, my anger is like I've never seen it before, because I just felt disrespected, lied to, embarrassed, all the things. So I'm banging on the door. He's not answering the door. Tay, poor Tay, is just trying to calm me down. He's there with me while I'm banging at this other man's door, trying to calm me down, trying to get me to relax. It's not working. I get pissed off that he's not answering the door fast enough, and I punch the window. And the window shatters, y'all. Like, I didn't know I was that strong to punch through a window. Like, that's how angry I was. And as immediately as I punched through the window, Michael is opening the door. Like, Lincy, like, what's going on? Like, why are you doing this? I don't even let the man get 2 words in. I storm in the house. I let it be known that I don't care whether or not Michelle is there or not. You're gonna hear me and you're gonna stop fucking embarrassing me, and I know everything. So I basically cursed him out. I let him have it. I let him know how he is embarrassing me. How could he do this to the person that was gonna be the mother of his child? Like, there's no respect here. You have no respect for the relationship that we had. Anything where you can't just be like, I just went off. I went off. I did not wait for him to respond, and I walked back out. And I was like, Tay, let's go home. And Tay took me home. And then maybe about 20 minutes later, Michael comes to the door, apologizes for the entire scene, you know, lets me know that nothing happened between them, whatever. I'm not buying it, but you know, he's giving me this spiel of how nothing happened between them, but he can understand how I could feel embarrassed. We all still have to work together, and if things do happen between them, then I will be the first to know. And I'm just like, bullshit. The gaslighting, this man, he was a professional gaslighter, y'all. And just constantly making me think like I was overthinking things. I was going crazy when really I was seeing things for what it was. You just were telling me that it was something else, and I was stupid enough to believe you at the times that you were telling me that it was something else. Michelle is terrified because she has seen me go off. She's seen me break the window. And so Michelle is calling the police, trying to get the police to arrest me, saying that I'm hysterical. She won't come out and face me herself, but she's calling the police. So now I'm just like, ugh. Now the police are involved. I've allowed myself to stoop this low. I never wanted to stoop this low, to behave that way. It is what it is. Like, this is more than done. I'm just gonna rectify this by paying for the window, and I'm gonna move on. Try to pay for the window. Michael's not being responsive. He's not answering. I really just want to pay for the window because I don't want any retaliation at this point. We still work there, but I'm feeling uncomfortable. I don't really feel okay working there anymore. I feel like the clown of that office. Everyone's looking at me crazy, so I quit. I'm like, this is an uncomfortable situation. I don't have to be in this situation. I don't have to come to work every day and have people telling me what's going on and then you lying to my face while still having to do my job. I don't have to do this. There's work elsewhere. I'll go find work elsewhere. So I quit, but I still live at the property, and he's still the leasing manager of that property. So I'm like, this man can still retaliate against me. I'm just going to try to pay for the window so that, you know, I'm in good standing, and then it is what it is. But he's not being responsive. So Tay is like, if he's not being responsive, I'm just going to pull up. Give me the check. I will go and deliver it to this man. He's not going to answer the phone for you. He's not going to text you back. He's not going to communicate with you. It's cool. You want to pay for the window so that we can move forward? I'll go run the man his check and we'll move forward. So Tay goes, delivers him the check. We move forward. Tay and I continue to date. We continue to get to know each other. And you guys, everything that was a problem with Michael, I did not have to experience with Tay. Tay, from the beginning, even though he met me in a very fragile place, made it very clear of what his intentions were with me. Like, the minute we got started dating, he was like, you're it. I've cut off everyone else. I know we haven't had the conversation about being exclusive, but whenever you're ready to commit, I'm here. I've cut off everyone else. And I wasn't ready at that point. I was like, well, why would you do that? Like, there's no pressure to do that. I'm not looking for anything. This is just gonna be a fun time. But he was like, no, I'm serious about you. I want you to know that I'm serious about you. So everyone else is cut off. This is within 2 weeks of us talking. It took Michael 9 months to figure out that he maybe kind of sort of wants to be with me. Like, these are the things that you guys need to be looking out for when you're dating someone. When a man wants to be with you, it really doesn't take that long. It took Tay 2 weeks. And very soon after that, he made it very clear that I was the woman that he wanted to spend life with, build a family with. It became very clear soon after that we were aligned in terms of spirituality, in terms of the way that we envisioned our life and our family going. Like, it just became very clear in a very short amount of time that we were choosing each other in that way. Again, the choosing shouldn't be hard. The relationship might be work, but the choosing of each other, that shouldn't be hard. And I continue to develop our relationship. And one day I get an email from the leasing office from Michelle. And Michelle is letting me know that they have assigned me a roommate. Do y'all remember back when Michael told me, hey, listen, if you sign this lease, I'm just gonna make sure that you don't have a roommate? Now she's emailing me like, hi, your roommate is scheduled to do a tour of the apartment at this date and this day. And I'm like, roommate? Ain't no roommate. But now I don't work there anymore, so I can't just like adjust things in the system myself. So I have to go to the leasing office like any other resident. So I go to the leasing office. I'm not speaking to Michelle because you're a snake. I'm speaking to the leasing manager. It doesn't matter if you're my ex or not. You're the leasing manager. I know you're in charge of roommate placements. You gave me your word that you're not going to place me a roommate. And here and behold, I have a roommate. What's up? What's the problem? And so I'm starting to feel like this is retaliation for the window and everything else that went down over that summer. So I go and I kind of go off on him in the leasing office, like, this is unacceptable. This is not what you promised me. You need to rectify this. And he's like, well, I only gave you a roommate because your friend Jessica said it was okay. At this time, my friend Jessica was also another leasing manager at Property A where I used to work. So I go to Property A and I'm like, Jessica, yo, like, did you tell Michael that it was okay to give me a roommate? She's like, no, I never told him that. She calls him and she's like, I'm not quite sure where the mix-up is, but I never mentioned that Lincy was interested in having a roommate. So if you can just fix it in the system, that'd be great. So at this point, I'm like, okay, this is done. This is done. We're moving on. Michael is sending me paragraph text messages of how this is why he could never be with me again. Look at me, I'm acting crazy, coming to his job, talking about roommate stuff. And I'm just like, you are the leasing manager, sir. Like, this is your job. Your job is to resolve leasing issues. You made a leasing mistake, you need to fix it. It's like trying to make it about us when it wasn't really about us. It was just me being upset about, like any other resident would be if you promise them something and you go back on your word. So that happened, and then they rectified the roommate situation. I didn't have a roommate anymore. I made it clear that I don't want Michelle contacting me. There are 6 other people who work in this office. You don't have to be the one to contact me either. But between the 6 of you guys, there's more than enough people for Michelle not to be the one emailing me about anything regarding my account. And Tay and I continue to develop our relationship. We officially get together. I go home, I meet his family for the holidays, and that's that. I'm kind of just like, okay, that chapter is closed. We've moved on. It is what it is. After the holidays, I am set to work, because I'm working at Sephora at this point. I'm set to work the day after New Year's, so we have to head back. So we head back and I get a call from the leasing office. Hey, Lincy, you know, the police are here and they're looking for you. And I'm like, well, that's strange, but I'm actually on my way back down from Chicago from the holidays. I should be home in about 20 minutes. If they want to wait, they could talk to me about whatever it is that they want to talk to me about. Like, okay, I just wanted to know if I have permission to release your address. I'll release your address and they'll be waiting for you at your home. So Tay and I come back and the police are there and they're waiting for us. Mind you, at this point, the whole roommate thing and everything happened early in the semester. So the semester is over. I'm now going into my second semester of grad school. And since I was like fully, you know, involved with Tay, there really was no communication between Michael, myself, or Michelle past the roommate thing. It was done. There's no communication there. And it's very clear that they're a couple, Tay and I are a couple. It is what it is. So, but till this day, he still never admits. Till this day, he still never admits that he actually like cheated on me with her. But I did get confirmation through like other sources later that that's what happened. But I didn't care at that point because I was already happy with someone else. So we get back from break, you know, from holiday break. The police are there and they're serving me with papers saying that that Michael and Michelle are requesting an order of protection against me. And I'm just like, order of protection for what? We haven't been in communication for like 5 to 6 months. And the police were like, we have to serve this to you. You're expected to be at this court date. and you were going to court. So I showed Tay the papers, and of course Tay is like, this man is a joke. This is hysterical. Like, why is he even wasting your time with this? And I'm reading the police report that is attached to the order of protection, and it's dated for the day that I went into the leasing office for the roommate situation. This girl had called the police and pretty much wrote the police report out and then had Michael sign it. And it was very clear in that report that they were together, because it was language in terms of like, yes, she showed up to our home unannounced. She shows up belligerent to our place of work. We don't feel safe. And I'm just like, 6 months delayed? Like, you don't file this for 6 months, and now all of a sudden you want an order of protection against me as I'm moving on with my life. Like, make it make sense. So we end up going to the hearing for the order of protection. Tay comes with me, and the judge looks at the dates, and Michael comes with all the receipts of like text message between us and saying like, look at how irate she is and all this stuff, like just gaslighting the same way that he did with his ex, not taking any ownership for his role and why I was as angry as I was or behaving the way that I was, and just really making it seem like, nope, she's the crazy one. I had nothing to do with this. You see this text message? She's the crazy one. And the judge is looking at the dates of the text messages and being like, but these are from last summer. Has she contacted you since then? No. Has she made any visits to your home since then? No. Has she reached out to your now girlfriend since then? No. Well, then I don't see a reason to grant this order of protection. Next case. So we were really in and out of the courtroom. I didn't even have to speak. He spoke, she responded, and she was like, this is nonsense. They're free to go. And I kid you not, that is the very last time that I ever heard or saw that man since then. After that, Tay and I found out that we were expecting our child, who is here now. We were expecting Genesis. We moved in together. We got our own place. We started our own life together. Really, this story isn't so much to highlight the relationship itself, but the red flags that I could have paid attention to along the way. Because I feel like as women, so many times we just brush those red flags underneath the table. And I could have saved myself so much embarrassment, emotional turmoil, trauma, loss of both relationship, friendships, and a child if I had just paid attention to the red flags early on and just not allowed myself to get invested in something that I knew from the get-go wasn't for me. Also could have prevented kind of like the rebuilding and the damage control that I would have to do in my relationship now because of all the baggage and trauma that would come from the horrible way that relationship ended. So Tay and I worked through a lot of it, and we're in a really great space now, and it worked out great because after the decay of that relationship, both of us, both Michael and myself, found the people that we were supposed to be with for the rest of our lives that wasn't each other. But the red flags, you guys, I miss so many red flags, and I don't want you all to make the same mistake. So if you are in a relationship and you are seeing any of the signs where your partner is kind of making you feel like you're the world one day and then treating you like you're the bottom of their shoe, like you don't deserve to be with them, or they're not sure if they want to be with you, get out. If your partner is not really supporting you, if you're going through really tough times or dealing with something traumatic, like, my situation with the miscarriage, get out. If you, in your heart of hearts, just genuinely can't trust that person, like something in you is just like, I don't know about you, get out. It is so important as women that we listen to that inner voice, we listen to that intuition and really lean into it instead of having to see it play out all the way to the end to be like, oh, I was right about that. Don't wait for that. Just get out, trust that you know yourself, and trust that the signs and feelings that you're having is to preserve yourself, to preserve your peace. Because when your love does come, I'm telling you guys, it's not going to be that difficult. Like when you find your person, it should be easy. I know that people say love is hard, relationships is hard. It doesn't have to be. If you both are choosing each other, it doesn't have to be. It's when one person is choosing a person and the other person isn't choosing you back when things get hard and you don't want to continue to put yourself in that situation. So I hope you all learned from me sharing this story time, and I hope you all are paying attention to the red flags in your situations and moving accordingly. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I have for today, loves. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. If you like this video, go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. Share this with a friend who might be going through something similar, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Smooches. Love is a one in a million. It goes on and on and on. You give